school year, whether you're a new sixth grader coming in or you're just new to Impact. First, I want to say welcome. We are excited that you guys are here. Now, what you've experienced so far is a fairly typical night at Impact up till this point, okay? So we come in, minus the nachos. Again, like I said, we don't always have nachos. But we'll come in, we'll hang out. You guys can be in the gym, in here playing. We'll get started, we'll do some announcements. You guys will catch on to the cheer pretty quickly that we do. We'll play a game, we'll do some worship, and then we'll settle in for a message. Like I briefly mentioned before, for these first few weeks, we're going to be combined middle school and high school for our teaching. And then after a few weeks, after we wrap up our all-church focus, typically what would happen at this point of the night is middle schoolers would head on out to their life group rooms, high schoolers would settle in for their message, and then after those things happen, we'll flip-flop. So, but for tonight and again the next few weeks, we are going to be starting all together in here for the message, and then we'll get to life groups a little bit later. Now, for those of you guys, I know a lot of you, but I don't know all of you guys. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Andrea. I'm the middle school director here, so I get to hang out with our middle schoolers, but I also, still love our high schoolers as well. Some things you should know about me if you haven't picked this up already tonight. I'm kind of a little bit of a Vikings fan. I've grown up, thank you. I've grown up just a little bit. I've grown up in Minnesota for the majority of my life, so I am a kind of all Minnesota sports teams fan. I actually grew up going to this church, so however many years ago it was, I was sitting where you guys were sitting. And so I love this church, I love you guys, I love what I get to do here. Some other things about me, let's see. I love Disney World. It's probably my favorite place on the planet. So I love Disney. Big Vikings fan. I love Chick-fil-A. But I will say, if we had a Canes here, so I'm all on that bring a Canes to Rochester train. So hopefully it'll get that. I have 4 siblings. An older brother, 2 younger brothers, and a younger sister. Only one of my immediate family members live in Rochester. Otherwise, they're in Virginia and Florida and Michigan, so all over the place. But that's a little bit about me. So if I don't know you, I'd love to meet you. I'd love to hear a little bit about you. But actually what we're going to do, we're going to start off a little bit different in our message time. Because there are so many new faces, what I'm going to do is we're going to it's going to be fast because there's so many of you guys. But I'm going to have each of you guys come up on stage and share quickly who you are and something fun about you, okay? Okay, no, I'm playing, okay? I'm playing. Some of you guys were okay, I could do that. Some of you guys are you're very practical thinking and you're there's no way we're gonna get through everybody in this amount of time. Some of you guys are that is my biggest fear. No way, don't put me on that stage. I will hide in the back corner. I'm gonna take this time to use the bathroom. You're gonna make some sort of excuse to not be up on stage. And I get that. A lot of people, being on stage is a fear for them. For some people, it's just the idea of all eyes on them. Maybe, you don't like people watching your every move while you're up here. Maybe you're worried you're going to say something that, makes makes you look like a fool a little bit, or you're gonna stumble over your words. Done it all, you know, it happens. But again, we have some people who maybe, again, you would be like, yep, put me up there, like you might even volunteer to go first. You would be ready for that. But regardless of how being on a stage makes you feel, when you're on a platform, people notice you, right? So when somebody is up on stage, the attention is drawn to them. I could teach from the floor, and because some of you guys are sitting on the floor, there'd be a lot of attention still on me, but because I'm on a stage, the attention is on me right now. You guys are watching, and the stage is often a place of influence, right? When I step on stage, I hope that what I am saying to you guys influences you in a positive way. A prayer that I often pray before I get up here is, God, if there's anything not from you, let it fall to the floor and get trampled on. Because I want, when I'm up here, to influence you in a way that points you to Christ. And I have a stage, and now for good or for bad, when somebody is on a stage or a platform, people take notice. Now you may not think about your life in this way, but tonight I want to challenge you guys to maybe shift your perspective of a little bit with this. But I want you guys to think about your life as being on display. Whether you've ever been on a stage or would ever want to be on a stage, I would argue that each of you has some sort of platform. And with that platform, you have the opportunity to influence someone. People are watching you. Now, I tell the high school students, specifically CIA, this often, but I said, whether you notice it or not, the middle schoolers are often watching you. They're seeing what you get excited about. They're seeing how you interact and engage, specifically in worship. That's one example that I see often. And middle schoolers, you may think that, oh, I'm a middle school, right? So no one's watching. I would argue that whether you're an 8th grader and it's a 6th grader, they're still looking up to you. 6th graders, there are sometimes even seniors. Just because somebody is older doesn't mean you can't have an influence on them. And so I would argue that everybody has, in not a creepy way, but everybody has somebody that's watching you, okay? Again, not in like a creepy stalker way, but you have somebody that is watching you. Maybe that platform that you have is a younger sibling watching you at home. Maybe it's the way you treat your parents or your teachers in front of your friends. Okay? Maybe it's who you are when you're on the court or on the field. Maybe it's your work ethic that you have at your job. Okay? Maybe it's something different than I would list. I would say, again, that everybody has some sort of platform and thus has some sort of influence on somebody else, regardless of if you're up on a stage. It's not always front and center or in front of a lot of people, but everybody has somebody that's watching them. So when you hear the word influence, what does it make you guys think of? This is where audience participation is encouraged. Shout it out. What? TikTokers, yes. Okay, that's a great example. Famous people, Instagrammers. What else do you think of when you think of influence? YouTubers. Somebody who motivates you. That's a good one. What else? Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers. Oh. That is one of those that I hope falls to the ground and gets trampled on. No. All right. Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, one more in the back. Your sister, amazing. So all of these, when you think of influence, now, listen up, you'll get a chance to talk more about who influences you guys in your life groups a little bit later. But when I looked up what the definition of influence was, it is the capacity or power of persons or things to be a compelling force on or produce effects on the actions, behaviors, opinions, etc. of others. Okay, that's pretty wordy. So I feel like in simplest words, when you really narrow it down, influence is making an impact. Okay? That's even the name of our ministries, is impact, right? We want to have influence on those around us. And again, hopefully we're having a positive influence that pushes and points people toward Christ. Now, when I think about the people in my life who have had influence over me, there's a lot of different people that come to mind, but a couple of them. One is my older brother. He really influenced me in choosing to study abroad. I was pretty uninterested in it, but he persuaded me, he talked to me about his experience, and that led me to choose to study abroad, which that experience changed my life in a lot of different ways. So that's just one example of influence. I have some high school students that are trying to influence me to try a middle part, and I haven't got there yet, but that's another way that we are influencing people, that people are influencing me. Again, it's not always big things, sometimes it's little things. So I want you guys to remember that as you guys think about people who are influencing you and the people that you are influencing. What kind of influence do you have? And you guys, again, will get to talk deeper about that in your life group time tonight. So while we are influenced by a lot of different people, whether they're celebrities or TikTokers or family or leaders, whatever that may be, again, we also have an incredible opportunity to influence other people. And how we choose to influence other people is up to us. Now, when it comes to us as Christians, we have certain ways that God calls us to live our life. And luckily, He doesn't leave it up to us to figure out on our own, where He's like, yeah, good luck with that. But He equipped us with His Word, with the Bible, as a guidebook. And so that's where we're going to turn tonight to look a little bit about what does it look like, or how should we be influencing other people. So if somebody has their phone or a Bible, can I have somebody look up Matthew 5:13 through 16? You got it, Stita? Fabulous. That's the only one I got for tonight. So once you get there, so this is a part of the Sermon on the Mount that Jesus is talking to a big group of believers on how we should live and walk in our life. 13 through 16. You got it? Okay, you want to read that for us nice and loud?
You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are a light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven.
Awesome. Now, in this verse, we're being told to be the salt and the light. Those are the two things. Now, I don't think Homeboy Jesus is telling us to be salty and lit. Like, that's not what He's going for there. But then what is he trying to teach us? What is He trying to tell us? Be salt, be light. What does that mean? Now, another question for audience participation. What are some of the uses of salt? Anybody got anything? Cookies. Potatoes. Okay, so food. What other ones can you guys think of that's not food? Melting ice. Yes, in Minnesota, if you haven't learned that one yet, you will.
Storing stuff. It's hurting your eyes.
Making ice cream.
Storing stuff.
Okay, keep shouting them out. Great. Yes. Yes. Keep shouting them out.
Making ice cream.
Okay, so we could come up. There are lots of different things that you guys shouted out. Here's a couple of other ones that maybe some people said, maybe you have no idea salt can do these things, but here are a few other things that salt does. It can clean artificial flowers. It can keep wicker furniture looking nice. It can make a straw broom last longer. It can put out fires more quickly. It polishes brass and copper. It cleans grease stains from rugs. It removes watermarks from wood. It de-ices a driveway. Way to go, you guys. Deodorizes shoes, so if your shoes are a little stinky. Removes sweat stains off of shirts. And that's just a few, right? I know, crazy. You learned something new tonight. Now, I just listed about 10-ish ways to use salt. And a little bit of my research that I did, supposedly there are about 14,000 ways that salt can be used for different things. And I don't know for sure if it's like potatoes and popcorn and like all the things. I don't think that is how it gets that many. But regardless, that is a lot of different ways that salt can be used, right? Okay, so keep that in mind. How about light? Let's go over to light. Shout out some ways that light, energy, yes, helps you see, yes, gives us light, yes, it shows us a way, yes, absolutely, food, it grows food. All right, and bring it back. Okay, food generation, it provides us vitamin D for our bodies. It's how we see, it gives us color, it maintains temperatures, it maintains our body clock so we know this is day and this is night, things like that. It's responsible for the water cycle, it's a source of energy, it's a sterilizing agent when you think of like UV lamps. So again, a lot of different ways light impacts things. So when you think about salt and you think about light, they have a big influence and can influence just about anything. So by Jesus telling us to be the salt and light of the world, He's calling us to have an impact and influence other people. And I would also say that it's not just any willy-nilly impact that we can have to influence them to become Vikings fans or Packers fans. That's not what he's talking about. But Jesus here is hoping not for a short-term impact, because again, if salt loses its flavor, it's no longer useful. But instead, he is looking for us to make an eternal impact. Again, verse 16 says, "In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven." So right there, it says that the reason we are influencing other people is not to make ourselves look better or to make anybody else feel less about themselves. It's not about bringing the glory to us, but instead it's about pointing them to Christ and giving God that glory that He deserves. So in a culture, as you guys shouted out what you think about when you think about influence, the first things that came out were TikTok and Instagram, celebrities, right? And that's real with the culture that we live in. There is so many different places that are vying to influence you. And so you have to choose what you are going to allow to influence you, but also how you are going to influence other people. Being an influencer is literally a career in our day and age, but it isn't left to just those people who pursue it as one. Each and every single one of you has a spot and a place where you have a platform to influence other people. So as you're walking through the hallways at school, how are you going to influence the people walking in the hallways next to you? As you're sitting in this room or standing in this room, engaging in worship, how are you going to influence others? Are you going to be a distraction and pull the attention onto yourself? Or are you going to help influence other people to giving God the glory? As you're at home, getting a lecture from your parents because you didn't obey them the first time they asked you to do something, how are you going to influence your younger brother or sister who's watching the way you respond to your parents? Each of you guys has an influence somewhere. How are you going to use it this year? So I want you guys to think about this. I know we have a lot of people who are a part of sports. As you're walking out in the field, how are you going to be an influence there or on the court? If you're in theater or dance, how are you going to be an influence on the stage? Whatever that is for you. Are you going to be an influencer in the way that it draws attention to you and brings yourself the glory? Or are you going to be an influencer that points it to the one who really deserves the glory? Let's pray. God, thank you so much for your word and for how it guides us into how you want us to live our lives, Lord. We're so grateful that we don't have to guess, but that we can look at your word for how you want us to live. And God, when we still have questions, we can talk to you about it, Lord. And so I just pray that as we kick off this year of impact, as these students have started their school years and their fall athletics and their other fall activities, God, I just pray that you would equip them to be influencers for you. God, that they would recognize where their platforms are and that they would choose to influence in a way that brings the glory not to themselves but to you, God. So I just pray over tonight. I pray over these conversations in life groups. Lord, would you be present? God, would you be a part of the conversation? And all that is done and said tonight be honoring and glorifying to you. I pray this all in your name. Amen. All right, you guys, I'm going to have